Bastin.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. Well, after an exciting series and an even more exciting first period, the Milwaukee Admirals took advantage of a 4-0 first period lead to come back and win this series after falling down 2-1 to win the series and move on to their first trip to the Western Conference Finals in the AHL Calder Cup playoffs since the 2005-06 season. Now, we can talk a lot about how they got there, and yes, we can talk a little bit about Yaroslav Askarov's little mistake that he made coming out of the net and getting beat for the second goal for Texas, but ultimately that did not matter. And it's time for me, since we're at the end of the series, to talk about the player of the series. And before I do that, though, I do want to mention an honorable mention, and it was very hard, very close of a decision for me for this one, but let's talk first about Joachim Kemell, who has arrived in Milwaukee with purpose. I mean, this guy has come in and done basically whatever he wants. In 14 regular season games with the Milwaukee Admirals, he had 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points. 3 of those goals were power play goals, and guess what? In 8 playoff games in these Calder Cup playoffs, Kemell has 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points, and 3 power play goals, including the one tonight, which counts as the game winner. Now, it was close. I mean, this is a guy who came straight over from playing overseas, jumping onto the Admirals, and has started dominating. But there's one guy that we need to talk about that has been pretty, well, just no matter how you look at it, outstanding this series. And so tonight's one big stat is our player of the series, Luke Evangelista. Now, what has Luke Evangelista done? Well, let's talk about this series. In this series against Texas, Luke Evangelista scored at least 1 point in every single one of the games against the Stars. He had 2-point nights in Game 6, Game 8, and Game 10, which is really, really impressive to me. So for 8 points in 5 games. Now, for the playoffs, Luke Evangelista is sitting at 10 games with 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points with 1 power play goal, in addition to his 49 games in the regular season for 9 goals and 32 assists. But Luke Evangelista has been pretty much everywhere. The only 2 games he did not score in so far in these Calder Cup playoffs are Game 4 and 5 against Manitoba, but he has, so far he has 5 multi-point games in 10 playoff games, which is incredibly impressive. And again, I think back to when I saw him at development camp, and he just looked like he was skating and playing on a different level than every one of his teammates. And it hasn't really changed too much. His teammates have gotten better, which is great, really is good. But Luke Evangelista is NHL ready. And we saw that, this season with him in the NHL. But I think this guy, alongside, Kiefer Sherwood, Jordan Gross, even Joachim Kemell maybe, these guys are ready. And if you're the Preds coaching staff or the Preds ownership group or the general manager, Barry Trotz, right now, you've got to be pretty happy about what they've got going on right now in Milwaukee. But we can talk about the Predators another time, because guess what? Next up are the Western Conference Finals with the Coachella Valley Firebirds, which is going to be fun. It's going to be a whole lot of late night games, I think, for Game 1 and Game 2. I think those are both 9 p.m. puck drops. So we'll see you next week all through the Western Conference Finals as they move their way towards the Calder Cup. And it's going to be a late one, but there's nowhere else I'd rather be than here in the trenches with you, Renegades. So until then, we'll see you after Game 1, but go Admirals, and let's see them win the Western Conference Finals. Charlie?